On the blackest nights we sail through fog, two voices echo from the salty bog, with tales of movies and actors bold. Host Josh and Jillian, their stories unfold. Hold fast the wheel, listen to Jive, the Blank Podcast where legends vibe. From silver screens to haunted dreams, in Josh and Jillian's twisted schemes. Brought to you by Anchor Bay Entertainment. Now here's your hosts, Josh and Jillian. Yeah!
I just thrifted these jeans for $5. I'm so happy they fit. I didn't try them on.
Woo!
Yay!
Hello.
Let's do our intro.
Dude, I can't. I'm like exhausted. Is my head all shiny again?
No,
from
your
sweating?
head's all shiny. Welcome back to the plank, everyone.
What episode is this?
I don't know.
Who knows?
4.
4. And I think we have our first actor today.
That's so exciting.
We've just been doing
something I can talk about.
Yes.
I love
yeah, now you can
that.
finally chime in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been like just quiet.
Yeah, I'm such a quiet person. Me and Jilly Lee Gardner, the quiet one.
Yeah.
I have to talk about a movie I just watched recently.
What is that?
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with it. I am telling every single person I know to watch it. It's Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn.
Like
and
1990?
80 something.
No, that was like Bonfire of the Vanities.
That's like my
Bruce
new
Willis.
favorite movie. Like if Letterboxd came up to me tomorrow and was like top 4, I'd be like, Death Becomes Her for sure. What? Like they don't do camp like that. They don't do like campy horror, but also it's so funny. And also Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn are just such powerhouses during it. And like Bruce Willis is hilarious. And they just don't give a fuck about him at all. And it's just so funny, and I love it. I literally finished that movie and I was just like, I want to live in that world for like 5 more days.
I can't remember. I mean, I've seen it, but I can't remember it being that brilliant. Should I like rewatch it?
Yes, everyone should rewatch it,
Okay.
especially for Halloween. It's so fun. And then Sabrina Carpenter, do you even know who that is?
Do I know who Sabrina Carpenter is? Of course, it's John Carpenter's daughter.
That's not true.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, I know who Sabrina Carpenter is.
She just did
Blanking on a song, but you know.
Just please, there's espresso. But she just did a music video with Jenna Ortega called to her song Taste, and they did a whole like Death Becomes Her reference. Like the whole video
Is that
like
what
a
made you want to
reference.
watch the movie, or did you see that after?
Well, I saw the music video, and then I saw an interview with Jenna Ortega, and she was like, "Oh yeah, the whole like Death Becomes Her reference that we did. Like, I just love that movie. It's so freaking good." And then I was like, I want to watch that, and now I'm absolutely obsessed. It's all I can think about.
Well, I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah, you should. Have you watched anything this week?
Well, yeah, with you.
Oh yeah,
Strange Darling.
we did see Strange Darling. What'd you think of that?
We didn't talk about it because I wanted to talk about it here. I know you thought it was brilliant.
I didn't say that.
I think you said brilliant.
I didn't.
Amazing.
No.
One of a kind.
No.
Movie of the summer.
You don't listen to me.
It started off pretty cool. I don't know. It was almost like the gimmick was to tell the movie out of order, and I just sometimes when that happens, I look at how the movie would have been in order, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it was kind of, it just felt like it was missing some things to me. Like I would have, of course, I'm a writer, so I would have liked to have known more about. You kind of find out, spoiler, like he was looking for her, right? I mean, was he not?
No.
Was he not looking for what's her name? The killer? The what killer?
I'm the electric
She's
lady.
Electric Lady, yeah.
Yeah.
So it seemed like to me that Kyle Gallner,
Yeah.
it seemed like he picked her up at a bar because he was at a bar kind of like undercover looking for the Electric Lady. That's the impression I got with the information I had. I don't know. Maybe I made that up, but maybe that's what's kind of cool.
I thought they met on like, I don't
Didn't he pick her up at a bar? I thought he picked her up
Oh
somewhere.
my God. I thought that they met like on a date. I assumed that they met on like a dating app for like Field or something where it's like freaky deaky, and then they like decided to, because she interviewed him, was like, this is cool. Right. And so they just kind of decided that they were going to do this role playing thing. And
Okay, so
then,
maybe they met online, then they went to a bar, and then they went to the hotel.
yeah.
I just thought. So for me, I was like was look he was undercover and
I didn't even know if he was undercover. I just thought he was like.
or maybe he was,
I thought he was
okay.
just off.
No, you're right. You're
duty.
right. He was off, but he's always kind of like. See, that's the thing. His character is always kind of undercover.
See,
I don't know.
I wish we knew that the Electric Lady was someone that everyone was looking for to begin with.
Right. I wish we
Like-
would have seen the Electric Lady kill somebody.
Or like in the diner, be like in the background, like Electric Lady, and like we as the
Right.
audience don't have to connect them, but just to have some understanding, like, oh, there's a serial killer on the loose. Her name's the Electric Lady.
The only reference we got was when she told that female cop, "I'm the
She was
Electric
like, "I'm
Lady,"
the
and she
Electric-
started shivering. She's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
That actress, though, not the cop, but the lead.
Oh my god, she was so good.
She's very good.
Talk about range.
Yeah, very
That
good.
that actress was so good. I was so engaged, and like she was able to turn on like the drop of a dime, like shift the tone immediately, and like I just thought she did a great job.
That I will say was really good. I could see her. People are talking about her performance. What'd you tell me about Ed Begley Jr.? Because Ed Begley Jr. is in the movie.
Oh yeah, Ed Begley Jr.
And
his
Barbara
daughter is a friend of mine from high school, Hayden, and she posted a TikTok which went viral. It has like 30 million views or something right now about her saying like, yes, I'm a nepo baby, but I don't think I'm a typical nepo baby because my dad like doesn't even remember that he's famous half the time, and like will be just as surprised that someone recognizes him as they are to see him. And he had gone and seen Strange Darling, like I think it had been out for like a week and a half, and he had seen it like 4 times in theaters that week. And then one day he literally went to Universal Studios to see it, and then was coming home and got a call from the director being like, hey, we're doing a screening. A bunch of us are going to go see the movie if you want to come. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And Hayden was like, didn't you just come
same
from
day.
seeing
The
it
same
this
day.
day? And he's like, I am just so grateful to be a part of something so beautiful and good. And I was like, that's so awesome. Like, I mean, that's why we do it. That's acting. Those are the actors that are actually in it for the craft and for the joy of actually acting instead of like, being famous and rich.
But then that gives me expectations when I go to see the movie. I'm like, God, Begley said it was like the best movie. He saw it like 7 times in a day and said he was so great, so happy to be part of it. So my expectation. Our guest has a question.
Well, do you want to introduce me? I don't know how this works.
I was about
because
to
I haven't been
introduce.
talking
We're-
and saying anything.
I was about
but
to.
you're talking about Ed Begley, who I
Who
love,
you probably
so
know.
Maybe.
Well, I was gonna segue. I was gonna
thank
be
you.
like, and now we can talk to another legendary actor
yeah.
legendary. I like that.
who knows Ed Begley too.
Probably. We don't know that you know him.
I do. Ed Begley and I are both in a little movie called The Late Shift.
I know the late shift where you play Jay Leno.
Yes, and he played Rod Perth.
Okay.
Well, anyway, we have a wonderful guest in the studio with us today. It is you, Dan
Oh,
Roebuck.
I thought someone else was coming.
Oh my gosh, we're so happy to have you with us.
What an introduction that you gave us that you're here.
I'm here.
He said, "Can I please say something?"
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how great Ed Begley is. Do you want to say anything else about me to them before I tell you about it?
I could see you like you just like you're
Well, I
like
was
Ed
gonna-
Begley. Oh my God, his eyes got all big. He's like Ed Begley.
know.
I have
We were
so many stories.
Yeah, we were going to transition the whole conversation over to you, but
Well, it doesn't all have to be about me. It
Well,
could be about it.
I have all these questions and things to talk about, and Ed Begley's not even part of it. But let's start with Ed Begley Jr.
Dan,
Might
I
as well.
want to know about you. So you're from Pennsylvania.
Yes, I am.
You went to Catholic school. I also went to Catholic
Good,
school growing up
good.
for
I also
14
went to
years.
Catholic school. We talked about this with Mike, right?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. This is a new guest, new day. I hear the Catholic school in Pennsylvania is pretty intense. Did you have an intense experience?
I have the greatest education
Really?
a man could have, and I
Clearly.
just made a movie called The Hail Mary, which is my love letter to the Sisters of Saint Joseph.
Oh,
who
is
helped
it
raise me.
is it like based on a true story?
It's
Like an
no,
autobiography?
it's not based. I'll tell you a quick story if I could. This is how great Catholic education was for me. I went to school in first grade in 1969, and I said to Sister Kathleen, my first grade teacher, I said, Sister, I wrote a play. Now, Sister Kathleen knew something that I didn't know, and that was that I did not know how to even write my name, let alone write a play. Like, because when we were kids, different for my generation, first grade is where they taught you how to read and write.
Yeah.
Kindergarten was where they taught you how to not be mentally handicapped to some extreme
Sure.
extent. And first grade, they taught you stuff. So I didn't know how to read or write, but I wrote a play. And what that meant was, and I remember I saw a cartoon, a Popeye cartoon, where Popeye's nephews wrote a cartoon and they drew pictures and they animated it. So in my brain, I turned it into a play. But here's what happened. I said, Sister Kathleen, I wrote a play. And Sister Kathleen didn't say, Dan, you don't know how to write your own name. Please sit down. She said, you wrote a play?
Let me hear it.
She said, we should do your play. And then she taught me how to make a play and cast kids and rehearse it, all the things I was unaware of. I thought that these things just happen. Anyway, I used to get very weepy when I talk about it, because for a young person to be given an opportunity to create free of any judgment, that's what she gave me. She turned me into a creator. And for that, I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget Sister Kathleen. So my movie's about a man who desperately needs redemption, and a nun discovers this man, realizes his problem, and to lead him toward his redemption, she cons him into creating a football team for her all-boys Catholic school. And the main character is Sister Kathleen.
Oh, wow.
That's so nice.
So and that's already been filmed, right?
Filmed, looking for the right.
Looking for distro. How long has it been? When did you film it?
We filmed it 2 and 3 years ago, and it's just done. I make movies through a not-for-profit called A Channel of Peace. If people want to learn about it, they could go to achannelofpeace.org. And, the man pays me to be, I'm in Star Wars and the man pays me.
Yeah.
Or I'm in 911 and the man pays me. But when, I make these movies, they're made through a not-for-profit, so I have to raise the money or use my money to finish the movies. Mm-hmm. So it takes a little while.
So because you've made a couple movies. I've seen Saving Grace?
Getting Grace.
Saving Grace is something else.
There's a lot of movies
I don't
with
want to
Grace.
move away from
No,
his
I know.
childhood yet.
Huh?
I don't want to move away from his childhood yet.
Oh,
So you made this theater, you made this play. How old were you?
sorry.
You were 6?
Oh yeah, it was a big hit. We toured it up and down the school. There was, that 8 grades. That meant 16 performances in that day.
And then did you just do theater all throughout school?
Well, I don't know that I did theater. No, I didn't find the theater till I was 13. But when I found the theater at 13, the Pennsylvania Playhouse, I never, ever, ever went back to a normal life. I was a normal kid, but I was obsessed with movies and television.
What was your favorite movie as a kid?
As a child, Bride of Frankenstein.
Great.
Probably
Fantastic.
almost held through my whole life. I still think that's really.
And how many seconds is the bride in Bride of Frankenstein?
The bride in Bride of Frankenstein, she's probably in about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
But 2.5 great minutes. But my old man would say, all you do is sit around the house watching TV. Why don't you go do something? So I went to the theater. And after like 5 years of him never seeing me, he said, where do you go? How come you never just sitting around the house watching TV?
He never came to a play?
He came to 1 or 2. It wasn't his thing. I have no resentment toward him about that.
That's fine.
It wasn't his
What was your
bailiwick.
What was your first role?
In the theater, I did in Cub Scouts. We did hats for sale. I was the hat salesman.
Nice.
The other scouts got to be the monkeys, but
Nice.
I had the lead. And once you have a taste of that, really, you don't ever want to go back to the
You're just
chorus.
chasing that high.
Yeah, you're chasing the lead. But yeah, so I did a lot of theater.
You
It
did
was
it in high
great.
school?
Gluing noses on. Well, I was mostly at this other theater. I did one play in high school, then I did all the other theater away from high school, and then, it's funny, when I was a senior and the guy who did all the plays had moved on to another school, I was the one they called into the office, and they were like, Dan, Dick Culver, our wonderful principal, you know a lot of people. You know anybody who wants to direct a play? And I said, you pay them? He goes, yeah, I pay them. I said, yeah, I know about 100 people who want to direct.
Yeah.
So that's,
Oh my God. And then you graduated high school in 81.
81.
And then you did your first film in 85. So
I did my first film. I graduated high school in 81. I moved to California at the beginning of 84, and I did I was the lead in a movie in 84. I literally got my first film role, a starring role. So you couldn't be in a movie in
No.
Pennsylvania.
But when you got here, were you scared? Were you like, how do I get a job?
Well, yeah, you don't know anything. But I
No.
mean, isn't that you're an entertainer? You're an entertainer, but you grew up here, Josh, right?
No, Chicago.
Chicago.
I grew up here.
You grew up here. So different, you'd be surprised at how many people, if they say, I want to be in movies, and you go, all right, well, generally you should go to where they make movies. Now, then it meant you have to come to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Now it means you could go to Atlanta. Now it means you could go to Michigan. You could go to
I went to Michigan.
Chicago. Yeah, you could go to a lot of places to make movies.
And now you go to Pennsylvania to make movies.
I go to my hometown to make movies because that's
Cheaper.
cheaper and easier for me, and I do good for the town. And we've created a film program. We've taught children. We've taken kids from working on my movies, going to AFI. I mean, it's been
Oh, that's cool.
a heck of a journey for people. But yeah, I came out to LA and I was an extra a few times, and then I started working as an actor. Can I tell you a story about
Please
extra work?
Tell me all the stories.
Well, I'll tell you. So you sign up for these extra agencies, and I really liked it. I met one of my best friends, Bob Ivy, who became my stunt double for years and years.
Oh.
When he was always skinny. I got skinny. I got heavy again, but while I was skinny, he was always my stunt double. And I met Bob as extras. Some AD goes, you and you walk down the street over there.
So if you gained weight, would he have to gain weight?
He wouldn't gain weight, no. My stunt
like,
double
"You have to
now,
match me."
though, we do check in with each other. If I lose weight, I let him know that I've lost weight. And if I gain weight, I let him know that I've gained weight. And he does kind of. I'm sure he doubles plenty of other people,
I'd
but he's
He
very
mirrored
Hate
you.
to get the
double for me.
text of I lost weight. I'd be like, God
Son
damn
of
it,
a
I have to go to the gym.
What about the text where you someone gained
Hell yeah, ordering
100
ordering
pounds.
Domino's immediately.
Yeah, let me do the right
Give
thing.
me an excuse.
Well,
to
right,
eat
if they
more.
cast you and they said, is there any way you could Jillian, could you put on 20 pounds? So
So easy.
I did a show called Capital News for the great David Milch, and I was heavier, and I did the pilot heavy, and then I had this personal epiphany that I had to lose weight. Personal epiphany. And they didn't pick up the show, and they didn't pick up the show, and they didn't pick up the show. Well, while they weren't picking up the show, I was literally losing a pound a day.
Oh, shit.
I lost 45 pounds in 45 days. And then they announced at the very last day of the option that we were going to series. And that was all fine, well and good, but then they wanted to reshoot some of the pilot. And we had to tell them. And it
can't.
became such a horrible experience because I look completely different. And when they were told that, they said, "Cool, we changed the set a little, so we're refilming on the set just to test the lights and whatnot. Can you come down and let us film you?" So I went down and they filmed me,
You're like, okay, but I'm a skinny legend
Yeah,
now,
no,
so
but they knew I had lost weight and they wanted to see how different I looked.
But your stunt double didn't, so they just shot him.
Right, so they shot him.
so they gave him the
So
job.
they filmed
yeah.
him. So I went down, and then the next day I was at that same studio. We were at CBS Radford, and I was auditioning for some guest star. And the girl said, I said hello to the office, and someone in the office said, hey, they're showing your screen test right now if you want to go see the new you on screen. So I went down into the screening room, and hi, everybody, hi. Everybody said hi. The lights came down, and then Milch came in, and then they started running the footage. So Milch didn't know I was in the theater. And all of a sudden, I come up, and I'm like, wow, like I'm seeing a new me. And David Milch, this motherfucker, I'm gonna run this effer over with a car. This effing guy, this fucking. And so I stood up and I said, you want to take this outside? And he goes, oh, what? He had no idea I was in there.
He didn't even play it off like he knew you were there?
He had no idea.
Wow.
He couldn't have known I was there. So he followed me outside, and I was, I didn't give a fuck who he was. Nobody's going to say those terrible things about me. And he goes, Dan, if I knew you were in there, I wouldn't have said it in front of you. And I was like, that's your apology?
That makes it okay.
That's your apology? Well, so here's hindsight. I recognize that David Milch is a genius. I recognize that of all the people I met in Hollywood, I only ever met one guy in that capacity. I knew two others, I think, who was a genius. So, I mean, I was ruining his television show as far as he was concerned. I look back now, and I do see, but we had to get lawyers. They made me, I lost 45 pounds, this glorious thing. They made me put 15 pounds on.
Oh my God.
For the first episode, and then I was allowed to lose it again. So we were making that joke, I had to go to a dietitian, and she put me on like a 6,000 calorie a day diet because I had to gain that weight within 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And they got the revenge on me the day that I hit the goal weight. The day I hit the goal weight, I went out and got cast in a movie called Dawn's Early Light, a Jack Shoulder movie about like World War III. And I finished the reading. He goes, you want to be in the movie? And I was like, wait, yeah, I want to be in the movie. He goes, you got the part. And I said, there's like 4 guys out there waiting to read. He goes, you want to be in a movie or not? I do. You got the part. Don't say anything when you go outside. So I had this great part in this great movie. And then those sons of guns wouldn't let me out of the first day of the series. And the one day I had a 2-hour overlap of a schedule, and Milch made sure that he screwed me out of the movie. So I do that does piss me off.
So you were punished for losing 45 pounds?
I was punished for losing 45 pounds.
Wow.
I did his show. He was always mad at me. I've saw him since. He didn't. David Milch was all you got to do is read anything about him, read his own book. David Milch has been through a lot in his life. I don't think he's well now. I have.
I was going to ask you.
I have only respect and gratitude for David Milch.
Yeah.
He gave me my first series. I don't. You look back at that stuff and you think we would have all done it differently. And that's what you have to realize in life. I tell you, young people in a career, you know that with hindsight, you'd make a different decision. So you can't be mad forever, because as you learn, as you grow, as you become more sentient, more mature, as you understand the business more, you think, yeah, I see why he was mad at me. And he didn't understand why it was so important to me, and I didn't understand why it was so important to him. So, we were both off base.
But now you do.
Now I do.
And he probably did at the
think
time.
So. Yeah, when I saw him again, he gave me a big hug.
That is so hard, though, because as an actor, you're like constantly reevaluating like you yourself as the product and then you as the human.
Yes.
And balancing those two things and not taking the product aspect personally.
Well,
it's
we
hard.
fall into these. Look, there's a lot of people putting a lot of bullshit into the heads of actors.
Yeah.
You're a brand. I've been writing a book called The Audition is the Job and Other Truths that I've learned in the land of make-believe.
So
and
true.
I take all of those. I'll go head to head with any any, this life coach horse shit. I'm going to teach you how to be a brand as an actor. My first movie, Cave Girl, I'm a nerd. My second movie, River's Edge,
Which we're going to talk about.
I killed a girl. My third movie, Dudes, I was
You're
a punk rocker.
Yeah.
My
Love
fourth,
I want to talk about that.
my fourth movie was a TV movie where I played a Jewish hitman in a Dirty Dozen movie. My
Talk
fifth
about
movie
range.
was playing a cop 20 years older than I was. What is my brand? My brand is I have no brand.
I'm an actor. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm supposed to be a
Right.
chameleon. What do you mean? What's my brand? My brand should be
actor.
Don't know anything about
Yeah.
me. Like,
Well, which is why actors need to shut up. But okay, I'm done pontificating. You had a question.
I want to talk about dudes, but you want to
Whoa,
talk
whoa,
about Cave
whoa,
Girl.
whoa.
Okay.
No, I don't
you-
want to talk about Cave Girl.
Okay,
I wanna
talk about-
River's Edge.
Talk about River's Edge. Take it away.
Well, I want you. Well, first of all, River's Edge. If you want to talk about your
it's
Death
from
Becomes Her
chronological.
in your top 4 or 5 movies, like for me, River's Edge. As a matter of fact, I just saw River's Edge last year at double feature with Blue Velvet at the Beverly.
Blue
Oh, how
the new
nice.
Beverly. And man, I've always liked that movie, but sometimes you watch a movie that you haven't seen in a long time and you're like, but
It holds up.
it holds up.
What's interesting is, respectfully to Blue Velvet, they have those two movies are way more connected than because David Lynch and Tim Hunter and Fred Elms. Fred Elms shot Blue Velvet and River's Edge, but Lynch, Hunter, and Elms were all in the first graduating class of AFI.
Oh.
So there's a really kind of deep, interesting connection
I didn't even realize that.
between them. I think what's interesting is, and they both have Hopper in them. Right?
Yeah, it was a Hopper double feature, not an
Not an
Elms double.
But what's interesting about those movies together is, as Blue Velvet is in Lynch style, a time capsule of that moment in time.
Right.
River's Edge is timeless. If there wasn't a payphone in it, you would think it's happening now. If we went to Tahunga now, the cars would be the same, the kids
Right.
would look the same, the
That's where it was
haircuts would
filmed?
be the same. Tahunga and up in Sacramento. The river was in Sacramento.
Okay.
Everything else was in Tahunga.
Looks like it could have been Pennsylvania.
Could have been anywhere,
Yeah.
but again, that's timeless. By the way, as a filmmaker, I take a lesson from that. I try to keep as little modern information out of, if someone has to be on a computer, they're on
Yeah.
a computer. If they have to make a cell phone call. But when you see like the Hail Mary, there's no cell phones in the movie.
Yeah.
Everybody's communicating in an old-fashioned way. I think that's when movies are timeless, is when they do seem like they could be happening at any time.
Yeah, like all the movies now, especially when there'll be scenes with texting involved, and then you see the like little text bubble come up, and I'm like, guys, you are dooming that movie to only exist in like 2012 to 2024 or whatever. Like, that's time, because who knows what text messages are going to look like in another 10 years. And it's just like, we shouldn't be doing
Maybe
that.
that was the appeal to seeing something like River's Edge and being like, this is still great.
Yeah, it's still and
And the subject matter, it's almost like a comedy.
yeah.
A little bit. It's like
it plays now
dark.
as a dark comedy.
Yeah.
It played then as a disturbing. I remember David Sheehan, the NBC movie critic here in LA, said that somebody stood up in the theater and said, "How could you be laughing at this?" Like, they got up, they were so
'Cause they got it.
angry and moved by what that they didn't understand why people were laughing. Well, that's a filmmaker. That's right up there with, I'm sorry, I know nobody wants to. That's right up there with Mel Gibson making a movie where people stood up and, asked for redemption or whatever. A filmmaker, you make a movie that affects people to the point where they stand up and change their life, whatever. It's something. But River's Edge now plays, I think, maybe more of a comedy than anybody intended it to. But
A lot of that's Crispin Glover, though. He's very over the top. But
everybody, look,
performance.
you would argue that Napoleon Dynamite's over the top, but we all knew a Crispin Glover. We all knew it, Napoleon Dynamite.
So good in that movie.
Crispin knew something that I mean, look, when we were making it, there was a lot of sideways.
He was like your best friend in that
There was
movie.
a lot of sideways glances to me and Keanu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I poked at it with a stick.
Yes.
You know, oh, that's how we're doing it.
He was like
Oh, that's
had
what
your
we're doing.
back.
Okay.
He strangles this girl, and that's how the movie starts, right? It's already happened, and then Crispin Glover's character's like, "We gotta help him."
Yeah, we gotta
Hide
stick
the body.
together.
We gotta stick together.
We're the, you know.
Yeah.
You don't understand a goddamn thing, do you? Jamie is dead, damn it. And there's nothing that we can do to save her. Now, I happen to like Jamie, but John is still alive. Don't you see that?
And who's next on his list?
A very, very good movie. Tim Hunter, they just proclaimed that it was the 38th or 39th anniversary of the release, and I wrote Tim a text and said, I hope I try to thank you every 5 years for giving me the rest of my life.
Yeah. Because then
Thank
from
you
there
so
it was
much.
just
Yeah,
right.
a lot of work after that.
Dudes.
Dudes. Loved dudes.
Dudes right after that.
How funny. Like, what a fun script to just, like, play and be clowns. Like, what was your favorite part of that process?
Well, you know, Penelope is very entertaining.
Yeah.
We were doing a film festival, and she said, "Well, we always fought on the set," and I was like, "We didn't." I don't remember.
You're like,
ever
"Did we?"
fighting. She afterwards, she goes, "It just plays better if they think we argued all the time." I'm like, I don't.
Oh my God,
I'm
that's
such
so funny.
I just try to have as little guile in my life. I try to really just tell the truth. The best part about that movie for me was John Cryer, and building a lifelong friendship with him, and with Randall Johnson, the writer, lifelong friendship with him. And I just, I was uncomfortable wearing I did not like wearing that mohawk.
Yeah.
I had them get me a wig, and I'd wear the wig, and I looked like this fat kid with cancer. And so I put the mohawk, the wig, a ball cap, then I have heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
But that hair, that was not me.
Yeah.
And Penelope loved when people came to the set saying, he went to Catholic school, he goes to church every Sunday, he's got to go to church with that wig on, or with that they tied that into my hair.
Oh my
But that's
gosh.
like John Cryer at the time.
He was so hot.
Because that was after Pretty in Pink, right? That was after
right after Pretty in
right
Pink.
after Hanging Out
Hanging Out was
Hanging Out after that,
right
before?
before and right after was Hanging Out where he went undercover.
Yeah.
That was
cool.
right
Yeah.
after.
Oh, that was after. Okay.
Hiding Out.
Hiding Out. Hanging Out was another one.
Tom Zambeck saves it. Hiding Out.
They're outsiders.
You know, maybe this wouldn't have happened if you'd looked like normal folks.
In a place you won't find on any map.
Just let the cops handle it.
Come on, you saw them. If we don't do anything, nobody will.
So, what brings you to Utah?
Hunting.
You are dealing with the son of a New York cab driver!
Oh, can I tell you my extra story?
Yeah.
Please.
So after this and this, River's Edge dudes, it would have been while I still lived in Hollywood. So I had not yet done disorganized crime. But one night in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a call. And it was, hello, Dan Roebuck? Yes. Is everything okay? You know, who's there? Yeah, no, everything's fine. Hey, we need you tomorrow. Are you working tomorrow? And I said, tomorrow? No, I have off tomorrow. She said, all right, well, we need you, we've got a big extra call at this place. Do you have a suit? And I was like, yeah, oh, sure, yeah, I have a suit. So what, I'm sorry, what do you need me for? Well, we need you, we've got a last minute call that we're trying to fill. So you need to come to Wilshire Boulevard, bring your suit. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I could do that. And the woman said, are you working or aren't you? I said, no, I'm not working. She goes, look, if you don't help me do this, we're never going to call you again to be an extra. And I was like, no, I think that's okay, you know. And now it's 4:00 in the morning. I go, because you know I'm kind of starring in movies now. And she goes, oh, you're starring in movies, are you? I'm like, yeah. Click. And my wife at the time, Leslie, she goes, why didn't you just tell her to F off?
Yeah.
You know?
And you got to work with Penelope. You mentioned this earlier, but you got to work with Penelope Spheres. Could you tell on set that this director is going to be... She's got it, because then she went on to do Wayne's World. And then Little Rascals.
No, she was. But here, let me tell you something about Penelope Spheres. We were at that film expo, and I think someone said, you know, something about how, you know, she was, and it was somebody equated like feminism or something to Penelope, and she got very mad. You know, because Penelope's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
She's not a female filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, she made Wayne's World.
I mean,
like...
but what I'm saying is, like, I don't think people in those days, see, now you get all of this, you know, a movie directed by, she was just a director.
Yeah.
Like, that's, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
to say, well, you led the way for us. You know, no, I didn't do it for you. I did it because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And you could do it too. It's got nothing to do with being a man or a woman. It's just got everything to do with your talent.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, Point Break, Catherine Bigelow.
Oh,
Didn't
Catherine
matter.
Bigelow,
Didn't
yeah.
matter. I mean, who obviously went on to win an Oscar.
Yeah,
but speaking of Keanu Reeves, Point Break, and yeah, nobody was like, oh, a girl director, a female director.
Nobody cared.
And it's like, can a girl understand these new jokes? And
can
can they
understand
direct
these
these like
waves?
punky dudes? It's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody
why
looked.
wouldn't
There
she
was
be
no
able
one
to?
who understood the punk rock world better than she did.
I was gonna ask, did you know anything about punk culture going in? Like, how did you familiarize yourself? Like,
Me?
how did you prep for the role?
I couldn't tell.
How did you prep for that?
Johnny was very music oriented. So although when they showed this movie a few years back at the Arm & Hammer, it's part of some UCLA thing, someone asked about our punk rock, you know, pedigree.
Mm-hmm.
And Cryer literally said, my friend Dwayne Whitaker, this is his favorite quote. John goes, you don't understand. Dan Roebuck and I, we're music theater folk. That's what we are. You know,
that's what we do.
John's dad, you know, was a Broadway star, you know, of musicals. Like the last time I saw his dad, he was coming through L.A. as in the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, that's John's. You know, and John's mom, Gretchen Cryer, is a playwright and and a musical writer. So that's what we were. John knew more about the music. It's not really my scene. I never killed a girl either, by the way.
Okay.
You didn't
Write
have
that
to
down.
kill someone
Right, I
to get
didn't
in
have to do
character.
no one ever says, so have you ever killed a girl? By the way, the real story of the young boy Jacques Broussard who killed this young lady, which is where Neil Jimenez got the idea. Jacques Broussard just got out of prison about a year ago.
And that's the character that you were based on?
Based on,
Based
yeah.
on.
No,
'Cause
he was an African American fella.
Okay.
So
got out.
Just got out.
Boy,
Lock your windows.
He's crazy.
He's got to be.
Well, he's my age.
He's got to be your age.
Yeah, 62 maybe.
That's why you got the part.
There are so many fight scenes in that movie.
And dudes.
Uh-huh. And what's been your favorite fight scene to shoot in
your
your
stunt
career?
double buddy, was he in that?
No, I was too heavy in that. No. Here's, when we did the first fight, it was us and like the stuntman for leaving and everything. The sound guy comes over. This happens. I'm sure it happened to you, and it may have happened to you if you've ever been in a fight. Sound guy comes over. He goes, "Hey, you guys, come here. Hey, you don't have to go psht."
Yeah.
And we're like, because that's what you do. Psht.
Yeah, you do that.
That's what you do. He goes, "You don't have to go psht. We put that in later."
Oh,
right. So, I've had a lot of fight scenes, and I've been really hit on a few occasions.
What's been your craziest fight scene memory? Like, has there ever been one where you were just like, I had to have ketchup all over me for 12 hours?
Well, when I die The death in Halloween 2, that was the longest day I've ever been on the set. That was about a 28-hour day.
Oh my God, kill me.
Because they had to take me off the set. First they had to color my hair white and make me up old. That took 4 hours. Then we filmed for 12 hours. Then they took me off the set. They put all the prosthetics on me, and that took 6 hours. Then we had to film that for 4 hours. Then they had to take it all off me.
Oh my God.
And dye my hair back the same night.
Were you reading a book
And
in
that's
between
like a
all of this
page.
makeup?
No, I like makeup. That's my jam right there, sitting in the makeup chair.
You're like,
that's
you can
my
pay me
dream
for
come
that.
true.
Do you ever go home like when you played Grandpa Munster? Do you ever go home and like just keep the shit on?
No.
You're like, I'm just gonna sleep
Yeah,
in
I'm
this
gonna
to save some
sleep in it.
time.
No, you couldn't. You'd stick to the pillow. It'd be very bad.
Then Matlock, right? So they see you're in this movie, you strangle this girl. You're in this movie,
You'd be great for Matlock.
Yeah, you'd be great for Matlock. And
So
that was
right
huge.
before River's Edge, I did this play, No Time for Sergeants.
Okay.
Mac Hyman wrote the book, but the play was by Ira Levin.
Oh, okay.
Ira Levin, who wrote who wrote Stepford Wives and other great stuff. But Mac Hyman wrote the original book, No Time for Sergeants. Anyway, why that's important is that's the role that Andy Griffith did. They wrote the book, then they made a TV U.S. Steel Hour version. Then they did it on Broadway, and then they made a movie. And Andy Griffith was the star of all three of them.
Oh wow.
So this is I just wrote a kind of an obituary to some extent for the gentleman who cast me in No Time for Sergeants, because it had a direct impact on literally the rest of my life. So yeah, I was doing movies, and but I was guest starring in TV, and I ended up in my first Matlock as a guest star in the same year River's Edge came out, which would have been 87 or 88. And on the first day I met Andy Griffith, they bring you to the set, and I only had one scene with him, and I could barely talk. I was, because Dennis Hopper was a movie star, but Andy Griffith was an icon.
Right.
So meeting someone like that, it's different. It's like meeting a president.
Yeah, I don't know how I could act across Meryl Streep.
Yeah, you'd be like,
I'm not gonna be good. Like,
I don't know why I'm here.
I don't know what I'm doing here.
If you're ever there, you deserve it. So,
thank you.
Just remember that I told you.
Thank you. No, I'll black out and just do my lines.
Yeah. So I said, and Andy must have thought, oh boy,
this is gonna be a long day.
Yeah, oh boy. And I finally croaked out, I just did No Time for Sergeants.
He was like, I don't have to do 50. Hopefully, I don't have to do 54 more episodes of this with this
this idiot. Yeah. I said, I just did No Time for Sergeants. And he said, which part? And I said, Will Stockdale. And that became, it was immediate. He did No Time for everybody. He did No Time for Sergeants. I did the play, the TV show, and the movie, and he just did it. Now, the next day, the director says, I don't know but the old man said he wants you as a series regular. Like, that was...
Just because you did a play that he liked?
Well, because you know what? Andy had... I'm going to tell you something nobody knows about Andy. He was a discoverer of talent. He went one night to somebody told him he had to see this nightclub act. Well, it was Jim Neighbors. He went backstage. He said, "We're going to write a part for you on my show."
Wow.
He did the same with the actor who played Harold Sprague. He saw him in a play called Huey, and the guy had 3 lines in the play. His whole character listened to the other actor acting, and he said, "I was mesmerized by him, watching him listen, watching his commitment to hearing it for the first time." Howard, I'm sorry, in this moment I don't remember his name, but he went backstage and said, "We're going to write a part on the show for you." Well, that's what he did for me. Like,
that's huge.
He saw me. He knew if I could do Will Stockdale. Will Stockdale isn't just a part in the play. Right. The character has to directly engage the audience for 2.5 hours. He's literally talking to the audience and then stepping into the play and coming back to the audience and doing like a 2.5-hour stand-up comedy routine.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I could see you doing that. I could see you working with an actor, because you work with a lot of people and you're like so friendly and so nice and so kind of like personable. I could see you like telling the writers,
This is the guy.
this guy.
Well,
I wish that's how it worked,
Yeah,
because
it
real
could work
recognizes
like that.
real. Like, talent recognizes talent. And
Yes,
if you have
you
an
see
actor
it.
that's really good and they see another actor that's really, really good, and they're like, hey, you should have this person on the show. This is how, like, that's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, how many followers does she have on TikTok?
Oh,
Like,
this is something we're up against. I do it. I mean, I'm not trying to be self-aggrandizing, but, you know, in the movies I make the girl who's starting Getting Grace, who had never been in a movie before. You remind me a lot of her, Jillian.
Why?
Beautiful. You're both beautiful young ladies.
Oh,
and,
thanks.
she's a bit of an old soul in the little time I've known you.
Oh.
You're an old soul. When I look for young actors, I always look for an old soul.
What about old actors with young souls?
They don't exist.
So annoying.
Yeah.
Grace has always had a strange way of doing things.
She's a funny kid. I mean, it's extraordinary to see how her mind works. She's dealing with this better than most people at her advanced stage.
She's definitely not getting any better.
My first question is, have you ever seen a miracle?
Grace, this is not how it's done.
Hey, dig that. Destiny.
Okay, where are you? See, I don't find this kind of thing funny. Where are you?
Does this cough make me look fat?
I don't have time for your pranks. This is my business. I'd be more than happy to call the police.
Hello, police. Thank God. I'm being held hostage in my beautiful funeral home by a bald, sickly-looking teenage girl. I just want to know what's going to happen to me. Can I ride in the hearse?
Wait your turn.
She is delightful.
Yeah, she's a barrel of laughs, every one of them inappropriate.
But you know, I wrote the lead in the next movie with my daughter for that same actress, and I wrote another role for the actor from. He unfortunately went to heaven in between the two, so we found someone else. But I do it. There was a girl I literally bumped into at this at the Lehigh Valley School for the Arts, and I was so taken with this young lady. I thought, I want to put her in a movie. So I put her in the first movie to try her out for the second movie, and wrote parts for her.
It's quite an audition.
Say it again.
I said that's quite an audition.
I know.
I'd love that audition. Yeah. Here's a job. Let me see how you do with it.
How you do with the job.
Like,
but I do it, and that is what we should do. We should take the best of all the best
absolutely.
people that we work with.
Referrals.
Use their.
I'm really good, by the way.
She is good. And
I'm really good.
Yes.
I learned that you have to do that. You have to promote yourself, or else people are like, yeah, okay.
Well, there's actors like Joey Pants, who's the king of promoting himself, and that led to a lot of work for him. But Joey's also a very good actor.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not a guy. I'm not a guy who goes to red carpets that aren't my own movies or movies of my friends. There's people who live and die on those red carpets. They go to 5 a week.
Well, yeah, because if no one sees them for
seen,
a week, then you forget about them.
It just wasn't.
I have a friend who's been spending so much money on a publicist, and it's just because, like, I mean, she's not doing any huge studio films yet, but it's just like she's spending so much money going to like Cannes and all these festivals just to be
That's
seen.
how it is now. The appearance of her being at these things
because then she gets on that one movie, and then the audience goes and sees her Instagram, and they see, oh, she's on red carpets, and she's on all this stuff, and it's like, oh my god, Instagram's so fake.
All of it kind of hurts my heart.
Yeah,
it's all that time you could be spending writing or reading or learning or watching.
True.
I mean, to some extent, the thing that offends a guy like me who's worked so hard is when anybody says, well, I just want my place at the table. And you're like, well, what do you think? Someone gave me a place at the table?
Yeah.
No one gave me a place at the table. Nobody at Warner Brothers said, Dan, we want to know what you'd like to direct.
Yeah, no one's waiting for you.
I decided what I wanted to direct, and I met the people, and I raised the money, and I organized the event, and I created the thing. If you want more female voices, more African-American voices, Latin voices, do what I did. Don't say, Warner Brothers should make more movies about a subject. You go make it.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
But
yeah.
you're an artist. But you're I mean, you're an outlier though. I mean, and it probably goes back to you working on Matlock and working on features and doing all that. Like you have a lot of, you're just on the go. You have a lot of, you stay focused, and you're like my spirit animal.
Oh, you're very sweet
like
to say that.
Yeah.
But take the work ethic part of me is one part of me.
Yeah.
The father, the friend, the person people can count on is the most important aspect of what I've tried to bring to my life. I mean, I'm glad. I think about my kids. I get so emotional. I'm glad that people could look at my work ethic, hopefully, and say that's how you stay ahead. But the best thing I've done is my kids.
No.
You know, the best thing I've done.
And I met Grace at the Anchor Bay party, launch party, and then at CRUST. Yeah. And you guys are working on a script together, right?
Yeah, we're working. We wrote and directed Lucky Louie together.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we did that one already, and then we're working on a movie about Bigfoot.
Okay, how's that dynamic?
Oh, it's great. We love working together.
Yeah.
I've been so busy with these other things that just finding the time to write together. Do you know, she's terrific. I got to tell you something. She's a hell of a writer. This kid was hired to write a pilot. And she wrote a pilot of a subject that she knew nothing about. She had to read up on the subject, learn it. I gave her one piece of information that she wouldn't have known about World War I that I only know because I read a lot of history. And she used that one piece of information. She wrote this amazing pilot in 6 days. And I jumped on her like a grenade in a tank. I was like, do not turn that in on the 7th day. You are going to ruin that for every other writer.
Yeah.
I said, just hold on to it for a few days. Tinker with it.
Yeah.
Do not give that to them after 1 week, because if they know that's how fast you can write a pilot.
Yeah, you're screwing
everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'll screw herself too, because eventually she'll be like,
Jillian,
I don't want to do this in a week.
Yeah, they'll say we need episode 2. You have a week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So did she have to do? I mean, when you.
They haven't. I mean, nobody's bought it yet. The people she wrote it for.
I thought you were saying sit on it for a few days to revisit it. Like, I don't know how many drafts.
No, I just meant
6 days.
don't turn it in. No, what she gave me was perfect.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I hate to say it.
Wow.
A lot better than I could have written in 6 days.
That's so fun that you guys work together. My dad and I work together sometimes because he's a writer and he produces podcasts, and he produced the old podcast I was on, which was a true crime podcast called I Met My Murder Online. And
I would say what it's called, because my daughter and my wife listened to it.
Well, it's not continuing anymore.
Right.
That's why I'm doing this podcast too. But it was I Met My Murder Online. I was the host of season 2 with my best friend Courtney. But
I Met My Murder.
Yeah, online. It was a true crime about didn't matter. Anyway,
About
but
meeting
we
your
worked
murders.
together on that a lot. And since then, we'll just kind of work together on different podcast projects. And it's fun, but we're also both Scorpios. Our birthdays are a day apart. I'm October 28th. He's October 29th. And we are so similar that sometimes it's like a buddy. It's like...
Oh, yeah, you both dig in the exact same way.
Yeah, exact same way. Have you had any moments of, not tension, but of just kind of like, oh, this is my daughter. Like, this is my daughter. We're the same person. This is a little...
Gracie and I are... Oddly, her and her brother's birthdays are 4 days apart.
Oh, funny.
Their mother's and my birthdays are 4 days apart.
Oh, funny.
I don't know. That seems odd. But the boy is just like his mother, Buster.
Yeah.
Grace, just like me.
That's how my family dynamic is, too.
Much to my former wife's consternation, I'm sure. But Grace is just like me.
Yeah.
I think what we have in common is a sense of humor and a work ethic. And I tell you, she works harder than anybody. She writes every day.
That's great.
That's the other thing. I want to be a success. What do you do? Do you know I mentor actors? Now, I haven't had a lot of time to do it over the last few years, but I don't mentor actors for money. I mentor actors for free. There's plenty of people out there who are ready to just take their money and give them no help.
Yeah.
But I mentor actors, and I check in on them a year later. How's it going? No. Did you do any of that stuff that we talked about? No. You know, they're sitting around smoking bowls
Yeah,
or
right,
whatever,
right.
and they're not moving ahead in any way.
Yeah.
And it's because they're never going to move ahead, and they're always going to wonder why nothing's changed.
There's a lot of distractions, though.
I think that's the thing about being in LA. Like, you move here and you expect your dreams to happen to you, and no one realizes, like, everyone in this city, mostly everyone in this city that has had their dreams come true, has grinded.
Yeah.
And
You don't see them for, like, years.
Yeah,
and then when
a
you see them, they're like...
No, it takes, what is it? It takes a decade to have an overnight success, something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the biggest problem. And I see so many people my age that move out here and just get lazy because they don't realize how much work you have to do.
Yeah, you don't sit around saying, I need, I got to get a new agent. Oh, I got to get a new agent. You know, we're in a time when you can self-create. You should be self-creating.
And that is hard. It's expensive. Like, I know that was really frustrating when I graduated school and everyone's parents were like, well, you got a phone that is 4K. Like, go make something.
Exactly.
And it's like, it costs so much money, though.
You see a lot of good food. I just watched a guy who did a Star Wars fan film. All shot, like the production design and the costumes were all like cosplay. But they shot it on an iPhone. Footage looked great.
Interesting.
They had like 3 cameras going simultaneously, and then after you color correct and put lights on,
to light it.
Yeah,
that was just natural lighting though, except the nighttime stuff too. That was just like natural in the desert.
And what about like microphones? Then you have to pay people, and then there's there's just
well,
so
yeah,
much
of course.
that goes
If you
into
think
it.
about look at that.
Like we're not trying to make YouTube
think
videos.
about the obstacles because then you will psych yourself out.
That's
you
true.
got to do like
and I think that's the problem right
Britt
now.
Marling, who's from Chicago, but that's what she did. Like and all of her. I'm trying to think. Let me look up some movies. I mean, she got with her. She was an actress trying, auditioning for a bunch of things, and then like she wasn't getting them, and then her and her film school, like one guy directed it, and one guy was like a cinematographer, I think, and then they did, and then they just made their own movies. And so Sound of My Voice and Another Earth, they both get. I mean, this is also. This is like meant destiny or whatever, but they had 2 movies getting to Sundance in the same year.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wow. And then she just blew up. And then they did, what was it? They did that, the OA, which was a, it was
that's
a
crazy.
show.
When are we going to do something like that?
I'm always ready to do that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always ready. See this guy, we saw each other, a couple years ago at Starbucks? Just at Starbucks in Burbank, and we just talked for like an hour about what's going on. Told me about all his projects going on in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is where he likes to shoot.
I've known, I think I've been for you guys. I've always tried to. Yeah. We tried to help you get something going years ago.
We met you. Okay, so we met you through Augie Duke.
No, you actually. I think you met me through Tom Zambek. Saved my life on Getting Grace.
But didn't Augie introduce you guys?
No, his brother-in-law did.
Tom Zambek is in the studio with us
for
the listeners.
We're pointing, but look, I needed help. Tom helped me. He didn't know me.
So Stan introduced you guys.
Stan introduced us, and I said, I'm stuck on. I need. Tom helped me without knowing me. You and we try to get.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You just, help and evolve. I know you have other questions, but this is kind of the important stuff to me. Is to get out there to. It doesn't matter if you want to make movies or do a podcast or write a book. Unless you're doing it, you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
So
and stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it and start doing it. And stop saying someone else should do it for you.
Yeah.
Do it.
Or I'm waiting to start this project. Like, just start it. Just do it.
So,
and there's chemically, they did a study. Don't ask me who they are. Don't ask me that. But they did a study, and it was talking about a project that you want to make, talking about a script or a film or anything, chemically releases the same dopamine as making it. So the more that you talk about doing it, the more that your brain is tricking itself into being like, oh yeah, I'm doing that. It's so great. It's so nice.
I give that advice to everybody.
Stop talking about it and do it. Just write it, because you're going to trick your brain into thinking that you don't actually have to do it because you've already completed it,
A friend of mine quit smoking. She's like, I'm going to quit smoking. She goes on Facebook.
Weed?
Just cigarettes.
Oh.
So she goes on Facebook and tells everyone she's going to quit smoking.
Oh, yeah.
She gets like 500 comments. Like, you're so strong. Oh my God, you're the best. You're gonna do
Next
like
week.
no, that night.
Oh.
That night she smoked and never thought about quitting again. And I noticed it happen to me. Like as soon as I'm telling somebody like an idea for a movie, I feel it leaving my like just leaving my excitement field.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So Dan, what were we gonna work on?
The boxing movie.
Oh, that's
Kill
right. Well, okay, so that's what Augie, because you were in Wild Boar with Augie.
Yes.
Right? Which is, actually, I like that movie. The effects, like for I don't know what the budget was, but.
Let me ask you a question. Are you ready for your minds to go?
Wait! Don't go in there. What if this is one of those moments? Have none of you ever seen a movie?
Might be amazing.
Now the only way that we're gonna live is to go through that hole.
So we were supposed to work on Kilroy Was Here. This is a project that Dan was gonna. I think about that script every day. Yeah. But John Hawkes was attached to it. Augie Duke and John Hawkes were friends, and so Dan was So Dan was attached to that. And then what happened was, we got our money. We were gonna shoot it. John Hawkes pulls out.
Yeah, then we tried to find someone else.
We tried to find someone. We got Thomas Jane. We had John Cusack. But the thing about it that pissed me off, John Hawkes pulls out, and he's like, the reason it took me so long to commit to this project is that when I'm in, I'm in. And 13 months later, we got our funding. Because, he signed an LOI. And by the way, Tom and I, we had egos at the time because we were going to distributors. We went to AFM, and everyone's like, how did you get John Hawkes attached to your script? He doesn't do anything. Like, he doesn't attach himself to anything. By the way, he's not worth shit for foreign, domestic, or he's not internationally. He's not worth anything, so we can't give you any money. But, and then Dan helped us. Like, we were just.
But to that end, I mean, what you just said is so interesting. You've got an idea, you got a great actor, whether it be John Hawkes, Dan Roebuck, Jillian, whatever it is, and then someone says, "Well, that name doesn't mean anything," and you're like, none of the names in, Moonlight, whatever, meant anything,
right?
And then they meant something. So I don't ever take movies to foreign distributors. I don't give a shit, frankly. I put the people I want in a movie because they're the people I want in the movie.
That was
Tom's
Tom's
the
idea.
best actors I want, and that's what I get, and that's how you do it. And I know.
But he is a great actor, though. John Hawkes is a great actor.
Is a great actor, but there's 1,000 other. John Hawkes has.
But he had the look too, and his dad was a boxer too. I was like,
what I'm saying is, there's just. It doesn't. You should just get the actor you want, not the actor someone tells you.
And then the pieces fall into place. I mean, I'm going to listen to you because you're like.
Well, I make movies.
You do
I
this.
say I'm going to make a movie, and one day maybe someone will say, "Hey, we just checked Roebuck. His name actually does mean something in China." Yeah, who cares?
Yeah,
I know. You get that? See, you get out of the creative headspace, and then you're like, you know what? I'm the producer now, and this isn't fun. Like, this isn't what I want to do.
No, we had a meeting today about getting Grace. We got the distributor was shady. Things happened. Here we are. But I'll say what I said in this meeting before I came here. I get 2 emails or messages or Instagram or whatever. Someone says, "I just watched this movie. Oh my God, it saved me. Oh, this movie. Mm-hmm. I had to see this movie today." So it doesn't matter. You understand whether we make money or not. The movie is out there making a difference to people.
Yeah.
And the good news for me is, again, I've lived a life in the way that I'm not beholden to anybody for money. Mm-hmm. I've made my own money.
Yeah.
So the movie makes money, great. If it doesn't make money, but it makes a difference, great.
But how satisfying is that when you hear somebody say that?
Well, it's why I made the movie.
Right.
I didn't make the movie to make money.
But if you could make money and people say that,
Yeah, that would be great. But you know what?
Yeah.
What would you rather have?
trifecta.
Would I rather have, my legacy be I moved people to change, or would I rather have my legacy be
made a lot of
how
money.
much money I have in a bank account? I would rather move people.
depends on the people you want in your life.
That just comes down to like, yeah, that's what you want because you're an artist. And there
You're
are
an
some
artist.
people in this industry that aren't artists and don't get it. And that's what's so frustrating. That's what kills this industry or makes
Yeah.
it the evil beast that it
Well,
can
we've
be.
got I agree, and we've got too much content being made for political reasons.
Yeah.
For whatever woke horse shit you want to push, that's fine, believe in it, but you can't. You're dumbing down our art to just be one person's point of view.
Yeah.
But the best art is you're watching the Poseidon Adventure. This guy believes in God. This guy doesn't believe in God. They're approaching the thing in a different way. And even the guy who believes in God starts not believing in God. And then at the end, he's like, if you're there, save these people. So he does believe in God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a movie.
Yeah.
Having everyone have the same point of view, that's not really drama.
Yeah.
No.
Quite
You
frankly,
need
it's
conflict.
boring. Yeah.
It's so
You need
boring.
conflict, and you need this, and you need the only reason that person changes is because of that movie.
Yeah.
Right, right.
If that plot wasn't,
If that didn't exist,
yeah, if
right.
that plot didn't exist, their change wouldn't exist.
And
It's kinda
hire
like-
artists. Don't hire people that are just trying to be famous. Like, hire people that actually understand what it means to go into character development and analyzing a script and analyzing text. And like, oh my God, I just hate that these TikTokers who do acting TikToks where it's like, say they take the audio of dudes and they just like do your role, but they're mouthing your lines. And it's like, that's not acting.
I don't even
That's
know what
you
imitating.
should do that. I think
That is
you need to do
literally
that.
I don't know
imitation.
my God, I don't.
You're like, I don't know what you're
TikTok should go away
referencing. Thank
tomorrow.
God you don't know what I'm
sorry.
referencing.
Should go away tomorrow.
Well, I do think that it's a great creative outlet, but when you're saying that you are acting, when you are literally mouthing
Yeah, I don't understand that. That's
lines
weird.
that another actor said, like, that's just not what it is. And it's just crazy that these people get millions of followers and then get like these Netflix deals and all of this stuff, when I know people that have been training for decades that are so freaking talented and get it, and they can't even get an audition.
Yeah, that is there's God's plan and your plan, and
God laughs at
And
your
they
plan.
never what are they saying?
No, God laughs at plans.
when I was a little boy, I bought my first tuxedo when I was 11 years old because I was obsessed with being Dracula. As an actor, I thought, well, I might be able to, when I was skinny, play Dracula in the theater, but no one's going to ever cast me in a movie as Count Dracula. And then one day, I'm Grandpa Munster, who's Count Dracula.
Yeah.
And I'm not only Count Dracula, I'm Count Dracula in a Universal horror movie. So
Yeah.
everything I hoped for and
With
dreamed
Rob
for
Zombie.
did come with Rob Zombie. So everything came together just the way I had hoped it would come together, but thought, well, that can't really be. But I didn't obsess on it anyway.
Yeah.
And
Did you have
you play
any-
Santa Claus.
And I play Santa Claus.
Slay.
He's gonna be Santa Slay. Exactly. Exactly.
I wanted to ask, like, being Grandpa Munster, being the Count, did you have anxiety over, kind of revamping such a classic role?
No, none. I mean, we were not the first to play those parts.
That's
after.
true, that's
We
true.
were like the fourth. So, that movie, it hit a bit of a wall because I think there are people who don't understand Rob and are, honestly, I hate to say it, have a jealous bone. Because Rob's a rich guy, he's an artistic guy, and he's got a beautiful wife, and everything about his life is really good. And he's a really good filmmaker. I would rather watch his Halloween movies and any
Over
of
the
these new
originals?
Halloween movies.
Oh yeah, the
that
David
came
Gordon
out.
Green ones. Those
Yeah.
are terrible.
The more recent. I mean,
They
not the originals. I'm saying
No, David Gordon Green. I know.
Oh, I don't know who made them. Anyway, it's like Rob put
David Gordon Green.
Rob made an opera where other people make killing movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, I knew Al Lewis. He was a friend of mine. I knew Fred Gwynn.
Oh,
He
love
was a
Fred
friend of
Gwynn.
mine.
Car 54, where are you?
Car 54, where are you? Both,
Sorry.
by the way, both of their widows, Fred Gwynn's widow sought me out, and when she heard the news, she goes, "Oh my God, Fred would be so happy. He just knows how much you love that show." Because I was the only one with the balls to talk to him about it. And then Al's widow said, "You know what Al would say? It's yours now. Run with it." Isn't that nice?
That would make me cry.
Yeah, I cried.
Yeah.
The truth is I cried.
Yeah.
But, then I'm reading online, Rob Zombie only cast his friends. Only cast his friends. Who else should be playing Grandpa Munster? This was ordained by God himself that I'm
You're
Grandpa
like, I
Munster.
manifested this.
Yeah. I don't even want to think I manifested. I think what I really think, you know what I really think? I'm going to tell you what I really think. I think we all see our future, Jillian. I think we all see what is possible for us. There's no way an 11-year-old boy saw himself in that place. There's no way it could have happened. At 12, I was a clown in a circus. I was a vampire clown. It's the stupidest idea anyone's ever come up with. Why was I a vampire clown? Because I knew somewhere in my psyche that I had to be funny vampire because one day it's going to be called on me. But I'm telling you, everything I loved as a child has come through as an adult. The only difference between me and many people, and I beg them to listen to this, is the white noise. I never deviated to the white noise. In my life, that means I've never done drugs. I stopped drinking at a certain point because we have alcoholism in our family. I worked hard. I worked diligently. But even like the things that you're lucky because you've got a dad who understands, and my daughter has a dad who understands. I had a dad who was like, what are you going to go out there? You're going to humiliate yourself. They don't care. You're not Jewish. You're not whatever. Like he had a lot of valid points.
What did your dad do? Like
my dad
this
dug
is
ditches
Pennsylvania
for a living. Yeah.
Yeah.
He worked for the water department.
Okay.
My dad didn't not want me to come because he was jealous of me. Or he didn't want my heart hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's my dad.
Yeah.
So, all those people who stand in your way. I had once, I'm doing a news interview, and the guy goes, "Oh, God damn, gee, I'm so mad." And I go, "What, dude, what's the matter?" He goes, my daughter wanted to be an actress. And she said she was going to go to Hollywood and be an actress. And I said, "No, you can't go. You got to get a real education. You got to get a real job." He goes, "I regret it." And I said, "Let me absolve you of your sin. You did everything a dad's supposed to do. Protect her. She didn't do what she was supposed to do. Ignore you. That was her job.
Yeah.
Like, that was her job. So all that stuff. Once I had a girlfriend. Oh my God, she was so beautiful. Like, Jillian, beautiful like you. Older than me, beautiful. She goes, if you're an actor, you're going to end up kissing other girls and plays, and you want to be in movies. And can't you just work in a grocery store and like do theater? Here in town." And I was like, "No, I understand. You make a valid point. Yes, you're right. Anyway, goodbye forever."
Yeah.
Like, but that's the thing that would have stopped a guy maybe with a smaller ego or a less of clarity of what God intended for him.
And I'm very much a person that's like, you're never going to miss out on the thing that was meant for you. I don't believe because that's just what keeps me going because I can't live in regret or anything like that.
Absolutely
so I
not.
believe that if something's like, I'm not gonna miss out on the love of my life because I didn't go to this party. You know what I mean? Like if it's meant to be, it will be.
And I love what you're saying, and I'm gonna agree on it and say, however, you have to be ready for your destiny.
Absolutely.
However, you have to be in the place where when that young man comes to your life, you're ready to receive him.
Or like
him.
for this father who regrets, holding his daughter back. It's like, well, if she was meant to be an actor, then her journey in her life would have been, and this is when I said no to my dad and told him I was leaving. Like she's not going to miss out on this career that she's meant to have. Like if she's meant to have it, she would have made it happen for herself.
She would. That's what I'm.
That's what
we're
I'm saying. The same thing.
Can I just make one more point on that, because I think this is important stuff. If there's people artistically listening to this, this is why I'm frustrated with whatever mentorship I give, because I've failed for people don't get that you must be prepared and ready.
Yeah.
So when the time came for River's Edge, I didn't demur in that moment. I, in fact, made decisions that were so wacky, crazy, that were not part of anything anybody taught. I made myself the guy. I bought a beer. They said, sit here. I walked past the seat. I sat in the corner of the room. I popped open the beer. I started drinking. And I said, Tim Hunter, go ahead. And he thought he had the real person in the room. Well, any book we would have read in 1984 would have said, don't ever do anything like that.
Yeah.
To hold the I didn't have a script in my hand. I did the scene with the guy. And intense scenes. I felt so fucking all that stuff, right? So when the opportunity came, I met it head on.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say for an entertainer, an actress, a filmmaker, but especially an actor, 4 strangers in a room do not change your life. You go audition, and if I've learned anything, what's mine is mine, and what is Malcolm Daynard's is Malcolm Daynard's. And there used to be 4 fat guys, me, Stephen Lee, Malcolm Daynard, Googie Gress. We'd be at every audition from 1984 to 1988 until I kind of moved to like I was getting different kinds of opportunities. But at those auditions, and Michael Zorich, really 5. And if the character was a weakish character, and this is not an insult, but if you've ever seen Lords of Discipline, Malcolm Daynard would get that part because he had kind of an ability to play that kind of character. If the character was really sarcastic, Stephen Lee got it. If the character was a funny guy who was like John Belushi eating, Michael Zorich
Stephen First.
Stephen First was already, he wasn't in our group.
I know.
So
But
you're making a joke. But he was before us. I'm talking about our group.
Yeah.
But if the character was a tougher guy, I got the part, right? Except like in Capital News, it was like a weak guy, and I got it over Malcolm, and he still brings it up, every time I see him.
He's like, yeah, I should have done that.
I should have gotten that. They really wanted me for that, but they gave it to you. So what I'm saying is we all got what we were supposed to get. And guess what? There was enough for all of us.
Yeah.
There was enough for all of us.
Yeah.
So there's enough for all of us. So when you don't get the part, don't drive yourself crazy with regret.
Yeah,
if you did the best you could, you just weren't meant to get the part.
Totally. I totally agree. And this book that you mentioned earlier that you're writing, like The Audition is the Job, I totally agree. I think I heard Bryan Cranston talking about it, but it's just like you get to go in and act that day. That's what you want to do. So have fun and be excited that you get to go in and act. Whether or not you get the job can come down to, oh my God, I have a friend who was actually supposed to be on Chicago PD, which I think a Dan Wolfe show, but, and she was hired. She was cast. No callback. She was cast. And she was supposed to fly out to Chicago the next day. And Dick Wolf, saw her and went, how tall is she? And they said 5'1". And they were like, we'll get someone else. Like that day. And it's just like, if you get in your head about the job, and I have to get the job, it's just like, it comes down to, you have too much red in your hair and we need someone that's blonde. Like it comes down to
nothing.
Yeah, they have no imagination. There's no imagination.
And the only thing that you can control is that audition and whether or not you come out of that audition and how good you feel.
It's exactly what the book is about.
If you come out of that audition, you go, I fucking nailed that.
Yeah.
You had a great day.
Yeah. Whether you get it or not.
Whether you get it or not, you did that. And I always go into an audition with like, I want them to know that I'm a good actor. Like, and then whether this job, the next job, or whatever, they're gonna know, oh, Jillian, she auditioned for this other thing. She's
You
good.
ever have a bad audition and then they call you back and you're like, what the fuck's wrong with these people?
Yeah, turning point. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I could see.
No, I sent in that audition and I was like, I got that job.
She sent me an audition. She sent me the audition that same day. I
Yeah,
called you
I
that
did.
night or the next day, and I'm like,
You got it.
You got it. Well, just because I could see her range.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if the character was supposed to be blonde or if she was supposed to be whatever,
Yeah. But
how when did you stop going to auditions? Like how long did you
I still audition.
Do you still audition?
Yeah.
So
But
send
I
us
mean,
tapes.
Rob Zombie's not like, hey, Dan.
No, but to get in the first movie I auditioned,
of
and
course,
I knew
of course.
Yeah.
But you must be great on set, and you must have a good reputation because not everyone's in River's Edge and as a newbie and then goes on to have their whole career. So how much of that is a part of it? Because like there's great actors, but you're like, what happened to them? Why are they pains in the ass?
DJ Qualls actually told me this.
What?
He was like, "You'll get cast because people like hanging out with you on set."
There you go.
Yeah.
He was
you're
like,
gonna spend more time hanging out with them than
the worst thing
when
that
the
happened to
cameras
an
roll.
actor like me is that we don't go into rooms anymore.
That's the worst
Yeah.
thing.
It's the worst thing that happened to a guy like me.
I agree.
There's a sexuality, and it has nothing to do with how you look. It has to do with who you are.
It's a je ne sais
We're going to
quoi.
call it sexuality. There's a sexiness to people when they walk in a room, and
I know.
You know
When I walk in
you
every
experience.
room.
But we do. But
I was gonna make that joke.
But there is something about
that's
you that people want to hang out with.
Yeah.
I recognize it because I still audition people in the room. I don't think we're ever going to go. I've talked to my casting director friends. They don't want to go back.
I
They
know.
don't. They like working from home. Me personally, I think it's the biggest mistake Hollywood has made based solely on this
That's why all the acting's
nonsense
so
that people are
bad.
going to.
Can I tell you a quick story about the audition
Please,
room?
yeah,
So-
this is your podcast, not mine.
Well,
When
we're
you get
talking
rid
about
of it.
auditions, and I'm not. So when I was a kid, I was telling you earlier, I was in
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year, right? So that was filmed in Chicago, which is where I was a child actor. So I went into the audition. I auditioned for every part of that movie. I don't know if you remember the roles. There's like a bully, or there's like four different kids. So I go in and I auditioned for the main role, his friend, his other friend, and then the bully. I didn't get any of them. But the fifth audition, I go in. Daniel Stern's there, right? He directed it. So I go in and I read for the bully. Oh, it's a callback for the bully. So I go in and I read it, and maybe I read just did one reading for him, and then I remember him talking to me. I'm 12 years old at the time. I remember him talking to me just about my personal life, like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I like to write, I like to play, I do this and this and this, and we were just there was a comfortability, and then I got the part. But I didn't get the part. I thought I got the part. And so I show up, I told everybody at school, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be in this movie. I'm playing the bully. And I got to set, and I found out I wasn't the bully. I just was on the team because Daniel Stern liked rapping with me. He liked just talking to me. But then the kid that got the part got fired, and then I was the bully, which is kind of weird. Because I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to be in this movie if I didn't get the part. But it's a double story. It's like about the auditions and about being just. It's not necessarily about the reading itself. If for you actors, and I don't have to deal with this, but if you go into a room and they're like, okay, read your part. Okay, great, see ya. But how about making the actor feel like? That's what I would like to do. Just like, hey, what's up? Talk to him a little bit instead of like, give me your name, give me your height, where you're from, blah blah blah.
You just don't get their
Oh
personality.
well, with the tapes, yeah. Well, that's a.
And
Yeah.
even in my slates, I'll like try to throw in something fun, but even then they're like, ugh.
She's so
She's
thirsty.
trying so hard.
So thirsty.
And it's like, I'm not. I'm just like, I'm so bored and this tape sucks. So I'm just trying to make it a little fun. But they could read that as me
That's
having
rough.
like a big head and she thinks that she's quirky. And it's just like, because you're not meeting me. You have no idea.
There's a point where, I just have a slate that goes up. I
love that. You don't redo it.
Well,
yeah, I have a full
if
body
you don't-
shot
if
that
you
I
don't-
just.
If you don't know who I am or what I do by now,
Yeah.
let's
Google
just
me.
say, but I mean, you can't say that I haven't done my best to show you my range.
Yeah.
So, am I right for your part? Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll work enough.
Speaking of range, I want to talk about CRUST.
Yes, I was going
Our
to say.
new Anchor Bay film that we just went
Yeah,
to
we should
the
talk about
premiere
Anchor Bay.
of. We
I
should.
know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to edit this so this comes first.
No.
Well-
But something in acting school that you want to avoid is like, don't play drunk. Don't play drunk. And then when your character literally is a drunk.
Who doesn't
and
drink in real life?
You have to, play under the influence all the time while also being engaging and showing range and all of that stuff. Like, how did you approach that character?
Well, I had a very good director. who was the writer director
Sean.
Whalen.
And it's always nice when a director is also an actor and like gets it.
And you know, this concerned me exactly what you're talking about. Because it's one thing to do it for a scene, it's another thing to do it for an entire movie.
Yeah, and not play it one-noted.
So I can't brag about the methodology I used. I can just say that I tried to vary the character's experience, but be consistent to who he was. And you know, unfortunately, we all know people who are inebriated a lot, and they, you know, you get a louder version and a less loud version, but you don't really get the feeling, thinking version, and the, you know, it's because I have such feelings about inebriated people. I think it's not a good place to be.
I would love to hear your technique as to playing drunk, because my technique is like, obviously the character is still drunk and has alcohol in them, but I always picture my friends who are, or myself, although I rarely get inebriated. I just picture how, like, usually when you're drunk, you're just really trying not to be. So you're trying, like, you're putting down the, and maybe it falls, but you're trying to not slur your words and just trying to be normal. So like I'm just curious, like what your technique was doing it for an entire movie.
A lot more drunk people in the accumulated years. I find most drunk people don't really give a shit. If you know, look, I had a good director. The character had to be inebriated. That was kind of the thing about him. There was a backstory that was explained to me by the director. So I just did the best I could. I love that. I'm not really, I'm a bit of a disappointment when it comes to the training actor. I've survived mostly on instinct.
Which is great.
Yeah, and I've learned from a lot of great actors ahead of me, which is what all really smart actors do. They just, act like Tony Randall acted in the same situation.
Yeah.
I
mean, a lot of training comes from experience, too.
Yeah.
Whoa, shush. This place is business.
Fuck! The brownies are kicking in and this asshole is killing the vibe. Let's go.
No! Hey! Get the fuck out, Grandpa.
You understand, the machine is malfunctioning, and I have to alert my partner to the problem.
Oh, damn! He's like that fucking drunk on that 45 old ass show. What's his name?
Matlock!
Oh, this.
So you said you had a great director, which is Sean Whalen. It's his first movie directing? I mean, he's been in the business a long time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And we were saying how being directed by an actor is it's a plus, because the actor kind of first knows what you're up against to get the role right, and B knows kind of has an ear. And really directing, if I'm not in the scene in a movie I'm directing, always in a play I'm directing, I close my eyes and I listen.
Oh, yeah.
Other people will tell me if they've missed their mark, but I listen to hear if it sounds like
because there's a rhythm to every scene.
Yes, Jillian, that's true, but there's just sometimes people hit a false note that you think that's not how a human would say that.
Oh, that's so true.
Emphasize the wrong word, when if I was saying, don't tell me where I live, I know where I live. You wouldn't say, don't tell me where I live.
No.
Because you know what I mean?
Actors never enunciate the pronoun. Always stress the verb.
That's the rule? That's the advice?
You should, unless you're making a strict comparison, you should be, if you have to stress a word in a line, it should be the verb.
Yeah, but it also should be like that's a very good rule, but someone should be able to hear if they're no. You can hear a false note in an orchestra.
Totally. Yeah. Have you ever been in another film where it all takes place in one building and give or take only 2 rooms?
I don't think if I have been, it wasn't as masterfully done as this. This CRUST, I will tell you, might one day become the next Little Shop of Horrors. there could be a play of this. It could be a musical.
Totally.
That's
Melissa
right.
Rose, by the way, was also in it, and she's from Sleepaway Camp. She'll be on here at some point.
Phyllis is terrific.
She works in my buddy Sean Heights a lot. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, she's terrific.
Have you ever had to work with an inanimate object before as a character?
Are you talking about Sean Whalen? Yeah, there's what am I seeing? Heck, in Star Wars and the games that I do, I mean, I'm a 4-foot tall alien. You have to imagine everything.
Yeah.
I have to look above their heads when I talk to them, and they have to look at 2 dots on my belly when they talk to me. And your spaceship is made of cardboard, and you're seeing a meteorite shower, and you don't have any of that.
Don't you kind of like that though? Doesn't that make you feel like a kid again, like playing pretend? Yeah. Like I love when I get to a set, and I think that's why I liked theater so much too as an actor. When you're just like in a black box, and like you have to do a whole play in a black box with like blocking blocks.
Blocks. Like, I don't want to. I personally don't. I'm bored. Once I saw a production of Sweeney Todd presented that way, and
don't miss me with that. I can't.
Everybody was playing musical instruments because that was what they did on Broadway for like 4 years, and it was a snooze-a-rama. Good actors, but boring.
There's time and place for a minimalist show.
But you're free, and you have no, you're not worried about holding the gun to create a shadow of your face. You're not worried about
you're worried
your
about
costume coming apart.
Story
you're
and like
just telling,
being this character.
Yeah,
that's
great.
so fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, and they pay you for it, and that's good.
Yeah, that's what keeps us coming back.
Yeah. I know. Can I come back another time?
Please.
No. Of course. I just want to wrap this up with CRUST. I wanted to briefly discuss Terrifier 3 with you, just to promote it a little bit. I mean, we don't need to promote Terrifier 3.
But we could promote
Hail Mary.
Promote the Hail Mary, and we could certainly promote Saint Nick of Bethlehem. This is the first
Nick of Bethlehem.
Saint Nick of Bethlehem.
How many movies have you shot in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania?
I've shot 4 so far.
4, okay. And you're here. You split your time between here, Bethlehem, and then Florida.
I live in Florida.
He lives in Florida, but he's here now, and that's why we had to get him on this podcast.
This moment, but
We're in Florida.
Tampa.
Oh, nice. I have a lot of friends from there.
Yeah, I like it down there. And I like, there's a lot going on in this state that is a head scratcher.
Like wildfires?
Like the big one? Did you feel the earthquake?
No, I'm stepping over people with needles in their arms and in the middle of what should be the Hollywood, California, the Hollywood I came to.
Yeah,
and nobody seems to care.
Remember that movie Jimmy Hollywood that came out way in the 90s, like with Joe Pesci and Christian Slater?
You need to watch that movie again now that you know me.
And what?
Now that you know me.
Are you in it?
There's a very interesting thing, Joe Pesci, we don't have time to get into it, but I was actually cast in Home Alone. They were never going to use me because they only wanted your friend Daniel Stern, but
buddy,
they did not tell me that I was just a pawn in a game to get him, so they kind of screwed with my head. There's a story. It's famous now. It's on Movies That Made Us. They don't tell the true story. They tell half truths, but simply this: they cast me. Because they cast him, and then he wouldn't sign the deal because they wanted 2 more weeks out of him. So the studio said I was the second choice, cast Roebuck. So they cast me with the intention that they were going to pretend that Joe Pesci and I had no chemistry. And that's exactly what they did. When they fired me, they said, "You and Joe have no chemistry." And I said, and I'm in Chicago, rehearsing the movie.
That's crazy. I sucked his dick last night.
Yeah, I sucked that little midget. No, I said, that's so interesting you say that. But Chris, the fact is we have 1.5 pages of dialogue together in the van. And then for the rest of the movie, the kid's hitting us in the face with nails. So what does it matter what kind of chemistry we have? So their whole bullshit excuse was bullshit.
Even if you hated each other, that would have worked.
Is there footage of you?
No. But
there's no Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future footage?
Better though, Daniel Stern's wearing my costumes. So they had to pay me. And they tried to get out of paying me, and that's where I had to get another lawyer. That's how evil people are.
Damn.
Because they had to pay me. But in the end, I put it as a down payment of my first house, so I was home alone. And I'm going to say something about that because we're going to get to Jimmy Hollywood. Thank God I wasn't in Home Alone. Why? Because you only get what you're supposed to get. Why? Because I want you to look at my IMDb and Daniel Stern's IMDb. And you'll see what happens when you become a movie star in something so monumentally famous. And then your idiot agents insist that you're a movie star and you can't be part of an ensemble anymore. And nobody's going to pay you what Home Alone paid you. And no one's going to pay you what you got in the next movie. And you keep waiting for the paycheck and it never comes. And I want you to look at what I've accomplished since Home Alone because I wasn't in Home Alone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been Jay Leno. I wouldn't have been in The Fugitive. I wouldn't have been on
Final
Matlock.
Destination.
I wouldn't have been in Final Destination.
You never missed out on the opportunity.
Nobody would have taken. Nobody would have
CRUST.
taken me seriously as an actor because.
You would've been in
So the
Munsters.
greatest thing that happened to me was that I wasn't in Home Alone.
Rob Zombie would have been like, I don't want that guy from
You
Home
wouldn't
Alone.
have been able to fulfill your childhood dream of being Dracula.
You being Grandpa Munster. It's absolutely true. So Joe Pesci, I hear he's cocking off. I got Dan Roebuck fired. That's what he tells everybody. Right, because that's part
wait,
of the
that
joke.
makes me so sad. Goodfellas is like my favorite movie.
So we're doing The Fugitive. Pantaleone goes, you want to come say hello to Joe? I said, no, not really, but tell him he owes me an apology.
No, but
because he's
spit in
talking
his face for me.
talking shit.
Are we talking about
Joe Pantaleone.
Yeah.
Tell Joe Pesci was making some terrible movie about a homeless guy who goes to college. I don't know. Something nobody saw. And the end of this story isn't the end of the story. I consider Joe Pesci one of the greatest actors of the last 100 years.
I agree.
Easy Money, Joe Pesci, Rodney Dangerfield, great movie.
Great movie. Joe Pesci, great actor. But evidently I hit a nerve when I said so. In Jimmy Hollywood, the movie he made right after that, he said, "Yeah, I got a lot of things. He goes, "Yeah, that show Matlock, which I was already on when yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I auditioned for that, but they gave it to some rotten actor." So he literally he says the role of Cliff. He literally calls me out in the movie. They filmed it. It's in the movie. This is what.
Why do you have such beef with Joe Pesci?
This is weird that he put. Good news for me. Nobody saw Jimmy Hollywood either.
I did in the theater.
Yeah,
I was like, I can't wait to move to Hollywood.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
And in that
You were the
movie,
only-
Hollywood was a shithole. And that movie was
That's right.
90.
Yeah, he
or
becomes
whatever.
right.
Now,
Yes.
Hollywood's
Anyway,
worse.
I consider Joe Pesci truly one of our great
No, he's
actors.
the best.
But
Joe Pesci and Christian Slater.
But yeah, so he took a shot at me in a movie. But that's what happens when you're, I think you got to be a good, honest, happy person. Because nobody went to see Jimmy Hollywood.
Can we before we wrap, just because you're here, can we talk a little bit about Rob Zombie and Terrifier, just because this is like a horror?
Well, yeah. Well, Rob Zombie. I mean,
kind of want to throw some of that stuff.
No,
in.
no,
You've
Rob.
worked with him in how many movies?
I've done
5, 6,
7 or 8 with Rob. He cut me out of Lords of Salem, and he almost cut me out of Halloween. But when you're someone's friend, by the way, that's what you do. You're like, someone's got to go, and it'll be a lot easier to tell my friend I cut him out.
Yeah, right.
But
you said earlier off, you said Rob's a great,
I revere him. I consider him one of my most talented friends.
Cool.
Yeah, and people always ask of people. I try to do for people. We have a company called Monster General Store. People can go to monstergeneralstore.com. I don't want to say it's a side hustle because I don't think I really make any money from it. But we've made products for Rob Zombie.
Okay.
We put out a great blacklight poster, a slide puzzle. I wrote, and our company through Trick or Treat put out a coloring book of House of a Thousand Corpses. We just put out a product where you could buy a pendant of dirt from the House of Thousand Corpses.
Oh, cool.
And I went and
love that movie.
I dug up at Universal all on my own.
Wow.
So
that's true. That's true. This is not fake dirt. From,
this is I went. I went
someone's
to the
front
set.
yard.
I went to set, but
garden.
New from the Monster General Store.
a sinister set of super monsters. Dracula, Frankenstein, Dr. Shocker, and Igor. Each and every action figure is a one-of-a-kind handmade collectible. Frankenstein's table is impossible to put together, so don't even try it. Just because we made this commercial doesn't mean you should really play with them. Put them on the shelf, don't be an idiot. At Monster General Store, we have monsters and more.
Hey, that's pretty exciting. But I love Rob, so I'm glad. And, you know, when he asked me to be Grandpa Munster, I didn't know. I said, if you're punking me, it'd be the meanest thing anyone's ever done to me. And he wasn't punking me, and he came through with it.
That's so cool.
And Dan, and I was going to ask you this too, on social media, like you were all over about promoting. Now, were you? Did you just do that to promote it, or were you like obligated to promote it?
No. I would. Rob and Sherry and Jeff Daniel Phillips, who has a great Kirsten Baja, another great Anchor Bay movie coming out.
Saw you there,
they kind of gave me a talking to some extent. Said you got to be better at this. Okay. So I really try to be better. But I consider that when people say, what was your favorite movie to make? 5 years ago, I would have said Getting Grace. But after making The Munsters, I'd say, as a movie, being on the set, wearing a costume, sitting in makeup, they'd say, can we take your cape, Mr. Roebuck? And I'd say, no. I'm going to wear my cape, and I would run around with my cape, just like I did when I was 11. It was like being... It was the most magical time, and it wasn't easy because they made it very hard for him to make that movie. But it's such a gorgeous movie to look at, gorgeous costumes. We have fun. And the thing about Rob Zombie is everything people deride, 10 years later, he becomes like now 20 years later, House of a Thousand Corpses, considered a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then the same thing will happen for the Munsters.
Yeah, it did get a lot of hate. I enjoyed it. I was a big fan of the show, the reruns. You ever watch The Munsters?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Only one season. Can you believe it?
Two seasons.
Is that true?
Was it two?
Both 2 seasons. No, both 2 seasons.
Okay.
44 episode seasons. They did 44 episodes. So there's about 88 Munsters or 87.
Yeah, I love that show.
But man. I
mean, but you knew that it was dumb. You knew
it was
that,
comedy. It was like
but you knew that our remake, the people who shit on it were full of shit because they'd say, it looks cheap. Well, it didn't. You could look at nothing about it looked cheap. That was his mania, was to make sure it didn't look cheap. No, the acting wasn't good. Well, you can't say Sherry and Jeff and I aren't good actors. Combined, we've starred in 400 movies. So we've got to be good actors. Richard Brake, too, and Cassandra Peterson, and the rest of the cast, all good actors. So you can't, all their stuff kind of fell apart. I'll tell you this: we did something that nobody else has been able to do. We brought a whole new generation to the Munsters.
True,
because the kids love it, and so they watch that. Then they watch the other Munsters, and that's what we did.
Boom! You just
That's what Rob Zombie
did.
did.
And I think it's PG, right?
Yeah, G.
PG?
Maybe PG.
And
it's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
And most importantly, you had a great time on the set.
Yeah.
Did you live in your dream?
Living my dream.
And then Terrifier 3, I heard you talking earlier, you were on set for 4 days. You played Santa Claus in 2 movies coming out, right?
We've got Terrifier 3, Santa Claus. Doesn't go well for Santa Claus and Terrifier 3.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. You could see on the poster it doesn't go well.
Oh,
yeah, he's wearing my face. On the poster.
Does it come out this
Did
December?
You negotiate
it comes out October 9th.
October 9th.
Or October 11th, maybe October.
Wow, so it might be out by the time this podcast is out.
Yeah, well, actually it will be.
So go check it out.
I figured this will be out around Halloween. That's why I wore this.
So do that, and then Saint Nick of Bethlehem will come out very soon after that.
And that's the one you also directed.
I directed with Spencer Fulmar and wrote with Spencer Fulmar, another filmmaker, and it's a lovely, beautiful movie about a guy who loses his son tragically. He starts to kind of lose touch with reality to some extent. People start saying, he lets himself go. They're like, oh, hey, Santa, hey, Santa. So he starts giving away stuff, and he realizes that the more he gives away, a grief of losing his son.
Oh, man.
And it's based on a true story. Wow. Horrible. Horrible that a young boy died, but his father kind of discovered this thing, and he's now That's what he does. He's a Santa Claus.
You're being silly. It's only $1.
All right, let me explain this to you.
Right.
See this one? That's $1. 100 is $100.
You were always so good at math.
Nick McNulty is struggling.
Oh, all right. This I have to have.
Please.
With his mother.
I'm scared you're going to end up alone the rest of your life.
I'm not alone. I'm with you.
To be able to read a room. I mean, come on, you're an award-winning teacher.
I was.
You are.
And with himself.
I just thought I'd come in here and you could cheer me up.
All of that will change next Christmas. In a new holiday classic set in America's Christmas city.
So it's kind of like playing Santa Claus twice, but not really. I mean, you're playing Santa Claus, but in two very different ways. Something tells you the more authentic one that you like is the.
Well,
Is that weird?
They're both guys playing Santa Claus.
Right.
I mean, you're not Kris Kringle. I'm not Kris Kringle.
Right.
You're Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right. Okay. Then let me take back my question. Because I would imagine that playing the same character of Kris Kringle in two different films would be weird. But you're not. You're playing two very different people who just happen to have the same job.
Right, and they both take it seriously.
Yeah.
They both take it seriously. But
do you
Damien
feel like
Leone,
each have completely different relationships with Santa Claus?
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Damien Leone.
Is a terrific guy, terrific director. He's going to blow people's minds with this movie.
Cool.
It's going to blow their minds.
Do you like the first two? Is Terrifier
I
your
do.
kind of
I
movie?
do like them. They're not my style of movie, but I like that they're cool, and I like how much people like them. And I'm not an idiot. Being in something popular is a blessing for an actor, so that's good.
Definitely.
Exposure.
But people like them, and I like that they like them, and I'm a fan of the genre. I would never make it though. People say you should make a horror movie. I would never make it.
Well, no, because you like the faith-based stuff.
I don't know. It's not even. I just like telling stories where people aren't dying, but where they're learning.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're excited to see that.
Yeah, we got
Thank
a lot.
you so much.
What's that? The second one called?
The second one's called Saint Nick of Bethlehem.
Saint Nick of Bethlehem.
First one, Terrifier 3.
Terrifier
Now we only
3.
got up to, by the way, my 4th movie. So we've got to come back and talk.
So you'll come back.
The other 160.
This will probably be this in itself is probably 2 episodes anyway.
Okay.
But Dan Roebuck.
But Dan Roebuck, and we also want to promote CRUST. And you're
Kirsten Baja.
And Kirsten Baja. We saw you there.
And maybe Anchor Bay will.
And Anchor Bay is going to get what movie? Are we working on?
Well, we're working on a few Dwayne Whitaker projects. But maybe they'll come to me.
Oh yeah, maybe they'll come to you.
Say, what do you got, Dan?
Yeah.
They'll be like, Dan, now you better make that horror movie that you don't want to make.
I've had a great time.
Yeah, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're beautiful people, and we have mutual friends. And
wow.
This went great, and we'll see you at the movies.
Thanks.
All right.
Dan Roebuck on the plank.
Peace. Hey, what was the
On the blackest nights we sail through fog, to voices echo from the salty bog, with tales of movies and actors bold. Host Josh and Jillian, their stories unfold. Hold fast the wheel, listen to Jive, the Blank Podcast where legends vibe. From silver screens to haunted dreams, in Josh and Jillian's twisted schemes. Brought to you by Anchor Bay Entertainment. Now here's your hosts, Josh and Jillian. Yeah.